and welcome to episode 25 of the Ukulele Sessions. Today I am joined by the wonderful Matt Warnes. Now, Matt is a really important guy in ukulele circles. So, what does he do? Well, firstly, he is the owner and the editor and the producer of the wonderful Uke Magazine. He has a bit of help from his wife, but between them they do this and they run it nearly all themselves. So there's an awful lot of work goes into it. This is a quarterly magazine and it's a fantastic magazine. There's so many things I love about it. For a start, it deals with top end players. So I think the next episode has got an interview with Jake in it. Also deals with local clubs, gives lots of tips, does reviews of ukuleles, everything you would want from a magazine, and it's a real magazine, not just online. It is available online, but this, if you subscribe to it, and it's not that expensive actually, it's in the £20 something, and it just drops through your door every 3 months, and it's a fantastic magazine featuring all the best players out there and also a lot of amateur players as well. So there's something in this, something for everyone in this. What else does Matt do? Matt also runs World of Ukes, which is a really great shop in Carlisle. It's a shop that obviously specialises in ukuleles, and he starts at around the £70 mark, so it's sort of good entry-level ukuleles for people, right up to the high-end ukuleles. Matt's very well known for setting up the ukuleles so well and giving such good advice. In fact, you'll see in the interview that he says one of the things he really loves is when people are looking at, say, 2 ukuleles and they can't decide what one to do, often he'll advise them to get the cheaper one because he believes that's the right ukulele for them. And, that's a character of that's a trait of, how good his character is and how honest he is, that he just wants people to get the right ukulele. Matt also runs a lot of ukulele events. He did the Wireless Festival, which was pretty much one of the first online festivals. He also runs the Uke Express, and at World of Ukes they do a lot of events there as well. So he's really big on the ukulele scene. He does a lot of great stuff as well, and he's very modest about what he does. He's a very hard working guy, and he's really at the hub of the ukulele community. But he'd be one of the last to admit that. So I really hope you enjoy this interview with Matt Warnes from World of Ukes. Hi Matt, lovely to see you. Really looking forward to our chat today.
Yeah, nice to see you too, Paul. Thanks for inviting me.
You're most welcome. I've been looking forward to this. So I wonder if we could start, if you could just tell us a little bit about your childhood and how you first got into music, Matt.
Well, I was born in Carlisle, about 2 minutes walk from the shop. I didn't go directly from the hospital to the shop. I grew up actually in the Midlands. My first experience with music, my parents told me that my granddad really wanted me to play clarinet.
Right.
So I did that at school. I absolutely hated it. And when I finally gave up at about the age of 15, they said to me, I said, I'm sorry to let Grandad down because I know he wanted me to play clarinet. This was after about 5 years. And they were like, no, he didn't. So it's just something to try and encourage me to play a musical instrument. I really loathed it. I really did.
Yeah.
And when you're a 15-year-old, getting up out of your maths lesson and walking off through your classmates with your little clarinet case, and people are going, ooh. I hope that school is a bit different now and that sort of thing doesn't happen so much. But yeah, as a teenager, playing the clarinet, it just wasn't cool. Hopefully that sort of thing's changed. But so that's after that, when I thought, I tell you what might help this skinny, long-haired lad find a girlfriend is if I play guitar in a band. So I got a guitar and tried to teach myself. And we had our first gig in my living room with a selected all-female audience.
I bet.
In sixth form. And the singer was so shy that he hid behind a curtain and sang from behind there.
Fantastic.
yeah. So I got into music because I was not very popular with the ladies, and I wanted to change that.
Okay, fantastic. And did you?
Well,
Quite confident.
well, I'm not saying that I'm a Lothario or anything, but certainly, you know, I don't know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, it helped. Just that helped.
I've done all right, but no, I'm happily married. So
Perfect. So yeah, it was a win-win situation. And what kind of music were you listening to when you were growing up?
I started off in that era. I've been a little bit of a metalhead, but not a serious one. And then things really took off in the mid-90s when I went to university, and I was pretty much a Britpop boy.
Yeah.
I liked anything. I was into Oasis. You know, it was archetypal student fare.
Yeah.
Oasis, Radiohead. A lot of them, I wouldn't say I've grown out of them, but Radiohead stuck with me. But yeah, it was that real student, Tony Blair era music that I was into.
Fantastic. I think some of them bands have stood the test of time well. Some maybe haven't.
Definitely, yeah. Listen back to some of the stuff now and think, what was I thinking of? But,
yeah.
You know, yeah. It was what everyone liked, and you know, I was not particularly alternative, so I went with the crowd.
Lovely. Now you picked up a guitar and your ukulele. When did that arrive? And are you self-taught, or did you take lessons, or?
Yeah, so it was about 10 years ago. I carried on playing guitar, and it's always been self-taught. And about 10 years ago, I started working for my family's business, Omega Music, which was a general music store, but mostly an educational supplier. And I'd asked, what can I do? You know, I can help sell the violins. Well, you don't know anything about violins. So, and I basically would go through all of these kind of instruments. Well, you know, what can I do? Where can I make myself useful? And I said, well, what about the ukuleles? My uncle said, oh, those awful things, twang boxes. You know, do what you want with those. And then, you know, within a couple of years, we would container loads of ukuleles were coming in and going out, and upset him greatly, I think. But so that's how I got into ukuleles, and you know, having specialised in an area, I felt like I better play it and never look back. I think a lot of the guitar skills were transferable.
Yeah.
I say skills in a loose sense. So I could for not 5 minutes, for 30 seconds, I could sound absolutely brilliant on the guitar, but I never learned anything all the way through. So I'd get to a hard bit or a difficult chord and just, I'd just skip that bit. But, you know, a lot of the picking and that sort of thing did transfer quite well into ukulele, but always been self-taught, probably not the best way. That's why I've never really done any teaching myself, because I don't think my way is the best way. It's just what works for me.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, that's an interesting sort of journey into it, isn't it? Really, that your family were in that background.
Yes, yeah. So that had been, well, I think from the early 90s, that business had been going. So I did a variety of things beforehand. I was a manager of a major UK bank which failed. Right. I was the manager of their complaints department, so that was fun. So yeah, I got into it kind of through need, but definitely found something that I enjoy doing each day, which is I feel very lucky to do that.
Yeah, indeed. Now, you are the man behind the wonderful, I have a copy here, Uke Magazine. I think that was the one from last copy. Really, really great magazine. I wondered if you could tell us how that started and what your ethos and your aims were behind it.
Well, it started with this. which is my Barclay card. and basically just thought, well, there wasn't one at the time in the UK, and why not give it a go? My wife's a graphic designer, which is a big help. She's a very talented graphic designer, so it's always looked great. And it was just one of those ideas that wakes you up in the middle of the night. Why don't I do this? You know, I've done some writing, copywriting in the past, and I just thought, why not combine all these skills that we have in the household, and just gave it a go, and it went surprisingly well right from the off. People, there was obviously a need for it, or a desire for it, so that initial fear of the big credit card bill from the printers quickly dissipated, and I realised that, you know, it was something that had legs, and that was 6 years ago now. So it's been going. There's one at the printers now, the December issue, and that'll be the 24th. So that's 24 quarterly issues. And you know, you've just shown the magazine there. It's a printed magazine, and you know, at the beginning, it's been a learning process. At the beginning, I just thought, I will put in what I am interested in and see what the reaction is. So, but over time, I have asked the readers many times what we want to see more of, what they want to see less of. So there's a bit less emphasis now on, I was going to say celebrities, but you know, there's perhaps not celebrities so much in the ukulele world, but you know, extensive interviews with artists. There's not so much of that, and there's a lot more emphasis towards learning and techniques. And there's always been quite a lot of gear in it as well. You know, people like to see the latest instruments and to drool over. So it's definitely become more of a teaching, and you know, I always think for the price of it, you're bound to pick up something in each issue that you'll think, oh, well, I haven't considered that, and improve your skill a little bit. I think for that, for having that that ability to learn something new, even if it's just a little simple tip, I think it's worth the money because of that fact.
Yeah, I think it covers a lot of bases, because at the sort of top end, if you want to call it, you're reaching out to the really well-known players and interviewing them. And then I think you also cover the kind of ukulele group scene, things like that. And yeah, I think anybody, whether you're a complete ukulele fan or just slightly into it, I personally think that the magazine covers a lot of bases, and it never fails to impress me how professional it is. Because it's literally you and your wife, isn't it?
That's right. My wife and I. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't write every word. Had some, you know, always get people contributing really good content. You've done that in the past, Paul, which I've been greatly appreciative of. But the core team, if you like, is my wife and I, and we employ my mum. I say employ.
Yeah.
My mum and my mother-in-law are both retired teachers, and they are the proofreading team.
Yeah, fantastic. That market has changed a lot since 2014 when you started it. But I love the fact that it's an actual magazine. I get excited when it drops through my letterbox. Is that something that you see changing, and do you think it will go more online, or are you hoping to keep it as a physical magazine?
As a physical magazine, yeah. I think throughout my before I got into the music arena, I've always had ideas, wanted to do this, wanted to write a book, wanted to write an album, whatever. But they always ended up as ideas, and life got in the way. Yeah. So it was important, I think, for me to have something that I could physically hold and say, I've done this, you know. So I've always liked that the print format. These days things are going online a lot more, that you can read the magazine online via the Uke Magazine app, which you can get on Apple and Android devices.
Yeah.
But that's I always intend that to be an add-on to the core thing, which is the printed magazine. I have to, the model, that model, whether it's sustainable, we shall see. It's certainly, certainly this year the readership is up.
Yeah.
So it's be a good thing, but it is something that preoccupies me a little bit, how things will go on, because if you look at other publications, there's a lot. The model often seems to be to put your content out via social media, linking back to your website with lots of free stuff, so that people, so you get as many people reading it as possible.
Yeah.
And then you make your money to cover your expenses with advertisers that then dovetail along that free content. But I've gone a different way, and I think that the people who read it, they buy that magazine and they're paying for it to be printed. I don't like them to give the content away for free that really those readers are paid for. So I like the fact that you've got something in your hands. I think gives it a value which will hopefully allow that model to continue.
Brilliant. I think also the demographic of those who are buying it is maybe a little bit older, and I think that matters as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right there. Yeah. I mean, there are younger people who read it, but yeah, I think I've never done an age survey, but I think there'd be a grayer hair would be the shade of, if you did it that way.
Yeah, perfect. Just going back to the interviews, is there anyone? I mean, you've interviewed. It seems like everyone. Is there anyone that has escaped that you'd still like to interview for it?
Well, I've never really had a coherent plan as to who I interview. Often it comes down to at the 11th hour, just before the print deadline, there's a little section in each magazine which tells you what's coming next.
Yeah.
And I sit there and think, who haven't I had? What about X? Fire off an email. Any chance you could be in the next one? Yeah, that'd be great. Okay. Type that goes in the coming next page, and that's that settled. And so I don't think I've asked anyone apart from, I think, Joe Brown, who didn't want, I'm not saying he didn't want to be. I didn't get a reply back. So maybe Joe Brown, but well, or Paul McCartney maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great though. Fantastic. Now, you also run, and we get a little clue from what is behind you, the World of Ukes shop based in Carlisle. So you sort of touched on that coming slightly from a family background, but can you just sort of expand on that a bit for us? Because you're not unique, but you're certainly very special in that you're a physical shop. People can go there. I love it, which is fantastic. Can you tell us a bit about it, please?
Yes. So a number of years ago, my dad retired from the family business, and at that time, I decided to go on my own. Yeah. So the shop's been here for getting on for 4.5 years. My initial aim was because I knew I wanted to be on my own. It sounds strange. I didn't want to be on my own, but I wanted it to be that you would buy your instrument from me.
Yeah.
And so, I would write about them, I would demonstrate them, and I would get it ready and set it up, and I put it in a box and send it to you. So I concentrated at the beginning on intermediate and higher end instruments. I think over time, because I think I brought quite a loyal following with me from my work that I'd done with ukuleles before, and then so there were people who wanted to get things from me who maybe didn't want to buy a 500 or £1,000 instrument. So I would get requests, can you get one of these? Do you do snail ukuleles? So as time went by, I expanded the range that I do, and now I say I would start at the serious beginner end, about £70 up. I don't deal with anything below that, just because there's only me. And if I sold 50 mahalos in a day, you might think great, but then I've got to put them all in the box as well. So I've got to how I use my time. The shop is definitely the thing that takes up the vast majority of my time, and it's grown and grown. There is a physical store that has been closed since the initial lockdown. I'm waiting to see how things pan out when I open the doors again. Because it's just me on my own. I'm a bit cautious, because if I'm off for 2 weeks, I can't work, or I'm ill, then I'm a bit stuffed. So but I'm looking forward to having people back. Before long.
Fantastic. So it's a hard time for shops, isn't it? I mean, putting COVID aside, which has made it a perilous time, it's a hard time because of the online sort of system that's going as well. Do you feel that you've survived? Because I sort of think of you as a man of many hats. You've got the magazine, you also you run it as a venue, and you do workshops as well, things like that. Do you think that's sort of the way forward for survival in this game?
I think engaging with the ukulele community and not having everything that's just cutthroat, profit driven. There's an events room which is currently full of boxes because it's been closed for a while. And if you get, so we've had, I don't know, Manitoba Hal or Mark Gallagher, Elizabeth Pfeiffer, Phil Dolman have all visited and played little gigs in that back room, and it's that kind of thing. It's never going to make me lots of money. You're lucky if you cover the money you want to give to the person who's playing. But I think it shows that I'm more interested in the community and the music than I am in making lots of money. I don't mind making money, and I need some, but it's not my priority. As long as I can afford a roof over my head and to go on holiday once a year for a week, then that is my definition of being rich. Beyond that, I'm not really interested. I like to do things which people enjoy.
Yeah, fantastic. Interesting that you mentioned Phil Dolman there. Now, I believe you've got a signature uke, a Phil Dolman signature uke, which I think he's got the first one, hasn't he? Correctly so. I wonder if you could talk us through that, because that's an interesting market, isn't it?
Yeah, so I distinctly remember discussing this with Phil and getting all his requirements and his specifications for what he wanted to put into an instrument in 2016. So It's been a long time coming. But getting something made by a company, you've really got to not know the company, but you've really got to find the right fit.
Right.
And then I've been dealing this year with Miller Ukuleles in Taiwan, who are just it's a small enterprise, but they really have such enthusiasm. So every time you deal with them, you get this, which I hope I have, or show this kind of real love for the instruments. So that they seemed a good fit. The instruments they make are great. So it just seemed to be the right time to revisit that project with them.
Yeah.
I've got one here, and Phil's got one, and the first batch is being made at the moment. So I think that's kind of specialism.
Yeah.
Is what smaller independent stores can do. Right? And if you look at Southern Ukulele Store, for example, they're really strong specialism in the Hawaiian-made instruments, for example.
Yeah.
And Amazon is never going to sell as many candelabras as they do, because I just don't think people would buy that kind of instrument from them. I've always been more not interested, perhaps, in the top end ukes from Asia.
Yeah.
So that's perhaps my specialism, and I think I'm never going to be big enough to hit the radar of the giant companies who would be happy just sending out their vendors and the inexpensive ukes. So I think as long as you keep adapting, keep finding new things that are interesting, and if things don't work or don't, then you look at other avenues. I think there's a place for independence, but I think you've really got to work hard at it to be the face of your store. You pick where people can put their trust in you and not a corporate entity.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I don't think I'll ever get that. I'll never be a huge company, because I need to keep it that people are shopping with me.
Yeah, you are World of Ukes, and if you were a large company, then a lot of what you stand for would disappear, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I think so.
Just going back to the Phil Dolman uke. So does it work that you have a starting uke, and then Phil says, you know what, I think the headstock's wrong, or the sound's too, and it's down to design, that, simple things, you might want more frets, you might want a thicker neck, you might want a curved neck, or whatever. Is that how it works, that Phil says, no, this is what I want for my style of playing, and you go back to Miller when they change it?
It could have worked that way, I suppose, but Phil had some definite ideas about all the sorts of things he wanted to see. So body shape, dimensions, number of frets, the materials used, they were all provided to Miller, and they made it how we wanted it to be. So we didn't have a lot of to and fro. Had it come back and we tried it and it wasn't what we wanted, then we would have had to go back and think again. But actually, they got it really. They really nailed the brief.
Wow.
And it's a really nice little all solid mahogany soprano, which is what Phil wanted.
Okay, fantastic. Can you talk about the price yet, or at all?
Price, it's $329.
$329. So that's a nice sort of price, really, isn't it? Price range there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's a nice grade of mahogany. It's a lovely instrument to play. It sounds lovely, but it's not adorned with all sorts of Apollonian binding. Phil wanted plain. He's got that vintage style, and it kind of fits in. The aesthetic fits in with his style, which that's what you want. That you want the person you're working with to want to play it.
Yeah.
So it's got to be what they like, and I do wonder with some of the, some of these projects, bigger enterprises. I've seen people's faces laser etched on ukuleles, and very fancy looking, maybe slightly over the top signature models, which I think are there to appeal to your eye rather than somebody who really knows their instruments and wants a specific sound, which is what Phil's done. So I'm really pleased with how it's gone down. I've got a lot of interest in it, so I think it's something that will run and run.
Yeah, well, I really look forward to hearing that. Fantastic. Now, we live in strange times, don't we, with COVID, and you were pretty quick to adapt, and one of the first to set up online festival. You did the Wireless Festival. I'm wondering if you think that that's something that's here to stay.
I think, definitely think there'll be aspects of how we've adapted to the situation which will live on. The Wireless Festival, it was, festival is a difficult term, and my technological skills, and partly actually my propensity to worry meant that I didn't want to go the live route, and I'm a worrier, and that would have finished me off, I think. So it was nice. We had lots of artists playing short sets and songbooks so people could play along with Andy, friend Andy Webster, who I do the events with.
Yeah.
And there were nice evenings. What surprised me about them was how social it was. We were talking, typing on the chat on YouTube, but people from all over Europe sort of having a bit of a chat, and people obviously were sitting at home having a drink, playing along, and it was nice. I think the technology will move on,
yeah,
and I think it will live on, but it's never going to replace it, but it might kind of dovetail alongside it. They were very popular right at the beginning. The interest waned a bit as everyone realised that they were living pretty much their entire lives on the screen.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I don't think it was never intended to be a replacement. It was just like a little flavour of a real festival in your living room. But yeah, I'm glad I did them because we got lovely feedback from people, and some people said they felt connected to that ukulele community again, and it kept them going with their ukulele playing. So that was nice.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I think that's really important. I think the ukulele community was fairly quick to adapt in many ways to that situation. And so, yeah, well done you on that front. Can you tell us a little bit about what the future holds for your shop and for the magazine and the events that you run as well?
The magazine, I'll keep plugging away. I keep trying to tweak it so that there's more content that people want to see and less that they don't. I don't have any major plans for it, apart from I would love to do more video content.
Right.
I'd like, alongside an interview, I've just interviewed Jake Shimabukuro, for example. It would be great if I had a small video section alongside it where he could answer a few of the questions or show us some techniques, but it's like a chicken and egg situation, because I want to do that and I think that would generate more interest.
Yeah.
But with the shop busy, I can't devote a huge amount of time to doing it. So I'll see how I strike the balance to get more online video content to go with it.
Yeah.
The events, who knows? I would be cautious to put major plans in place at the moment.
Yeah.
There's just too many variables that you can't control, and so it's definitely a wait and see.
Yeah.
We've done things like the Uke Express, 300 ukulele players on a chartered steam train, but even though things look more positive with a vaccine, I would be hesitant to suddenly spend several £1,000s booking a train for May, for example, until we know what's happening. The shop, I'm just trying to find things that work. I'm trying to find new products, because that's where I loved, for example, with Miller, taking a bit of a risk, thinking they look great, the people seem great to deal with. Right, here we go. Here's an order. I love the excitement and slight nervousness of opening up that first box and thinking, are they going to be any good? I did that with Nui Nui, the Moonbird models. I got the first ones into the UK, and it was the first box that arrived in my new shop, and opened it up and was just praying, please be good, and that model's gone on to be a bestseller in my shop and others, and that kind of thing excites me. In general, more video content. I've added the World of Ukes YouTube channel.
Yeah,
I've added over 200 videos this year.
Wow.
So I want to keep that. So I've got almost like a lot of sounds from every instrument, so you can help people compare contrast different models. But yeah, just keep looking for new stuff and putting more videos on.
Fantastic. I think you're doing so much that is right. That I don't think you need to reinvent the wheel, do you? I think if with the magazine and the shop and the events, if you're doing it right, which clearly you are, just keep doing what you're doing in many ways, which is fantastic.
Yeah. I'm definitely at peak capacity.
Yeah.
For one person, I think, as well. So if I was to grow any more or do anything else, then I think my health might suffer. But I think it's just the balance is just about right at the moment.
Great. What are the best bits and the worst bits about running the shop and the magazine?
The magazine is that even though it's been going 6 years, I never seem to learn how quickly it comes around again. It's like you get it. I drive down to Penrith, where the mailing house is. I check the magazine over. I pass on the data so it can be mailed out to everyone. I bring it back and then think, right, it's done. And then the next thing I know, it's like, I've got to do this in 2.5 weeks.
It always catches you out.
Yeah, I mean, how many times is it now? This is the 24th time I've been right up against the deadline. So it would be nice to learn from that at some point. So that's probably the worst side of it, but that's right. Self-inflicted. The best side is the feedback you get from readers. What always happens is at the end of a magazine, I think, oh, why do I do this? And then they land on doorsteps, and then you get people who write to you and say, I love this issue, or I like this tune that you put in. Yeah. I've written a few original tunes which I put in from time to time, and you get people send you a video and say, look, I've learned to play your Swan song that was in issue 23 or whatever. And quite often it's a little bit annoying because they can play it better than I can.
Yeah. We'll suffer from that.
The shop, I like matching someone with an instrument and helping them to choose something which they then enjoy. And that process is nothing to do with how much money I get from that instrument. In fact, I love it when somebody says, would you have this or this? Yeah. And the one I think would suit them best, that I like the most, is the cheaper one. Yeah. I love it when that happens because it's so much easier. Occasionally it happens the other way around. I say, look, it is worth spending that extra £50 to get that one. But hopefully I do it where people will believe that it's about matching them to the right instrument rather than money, because I do it the other way around as well.
I think that shows great integrity, and I'm sure people trust your word on it.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm not. It definitely isn't about extracting money from people. I just, when someone gets something and they're enjoying it, and it maybe helps them get that next level or that next level of enjoyment, then that's very rewarding. The event side of things, the worst is being a worrier. Yeah. I do the events with Andy Webster. He's like the life and soul. When you walk into one of the ukulele events, Andy will be like, "Hello, welcome. Come in, enjoy yourself." And he's having a whale of a time, and I'm sitting in the back going, "What if the roof falls down, or what if there's a flood, or Yeah. But that actually is a very good administrative pairing, because you've got the lively one and the details one, so it does work out well. But I only ever enjoy them when it's over, and then I look back and think about all the people that came along and enjoyed themselves, and that's something to be proud of when people have had a great time, which they usually do.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sure you've got an awful lot to be proud of. Now then, this has been a great chat. I'd like to ask you the final question, please, if that's okay, Matt. So you can go on a car journey. You can go anywhere, and you can go with anyone, past or present. I want to know what car you would be driving, who your passenger would be, what would be on the stereo, and where would you be going?
Right. I want my answer is something that actually is almost like a loose plan, a real journey. I'd like to go out to the NAMM show,
Right.
the big music fair in California, and I've discussed this with Tim Smithies from Dead Man's Uke,
Right.
who would also like to go out, and so I'd like to go over there with Tim, see all the fantastic ukuleles and other instruments at this great big music fair, and then the car I would then get into is probably a big Winnebago or something like that.
Like it.
I'd take Tim with me, and we would drive. I'd love to drive like the old Route 66.
Right.
For some reason, I'm an amateur photographer.
Right.
For some reason, all that, great plains and almost featureless landscapes. I find it really beautiful. So I'd just love to drive across America with Tim. And on the stereo, I think I would put on a band which I'm into it at the moment, which is called, terrible name, Cigarettes After Sex. I don't know if you've heard of them.
I haven't heard anything by them, but I have heard of them, probably because of the name. What is it? What kind of music is it?
Well, Paul, I would definitely recommend Cigarettes After Sex.
What about the band, though?
Yeah, so it's very much the kind of music I like, which is slightly miserable,
right?
Low key. It's just, yeah. I'm made happy by quite sad music. So
right. Right.
I think it's just from that Radiohead thing, and I try and seek out ever more miserable tunes. And that's what makes me happy. Perhaps because you think, well, they made an album and they sound more miserable than I am, so it kind of gives me a boost. So yeah, that would be my journey. But it's not completely out of the question that Tim and I could be enjoying Cigarettes After Sex in the back of a Winnebago.
Yes, perfect. And that will be a video. That can be one of your new videos.
Well. We'll have to see.
That's fantastic. I've really enjoyed our chat. I've learned so much, Matt. I really have. And thank you so much for doing the magazine and everything that you do. It's you only have to go online and see how people talk about this magazine. I've never heard a bad thing said about it, and rightly so. So thank you very much for your time indeed. I'm just going to press stop on recording, if that's okay.